All right, we're back. Becky and I are here. We got round 9 of 9 coming up, but don't think this is the last match of the day because it isn't. We've got the quarterfinals coming up afterwards. Sorry, these breaks are taking a little bit longer as we get longer in the day. There was a lot of players in this tournament. A lot of players playing 4-color stuff. Those decks don't always finish on time. There may actually be other decks that are drawing out the rounds, but it's easier to just blame the 4-color decks.
I mean, that's kind of going to be the case here. So we're going to be watching Don DeLozier against Robert Hayes, and Don is actually 7-1, but Robert is 6-0-2
Really?
going into this round. So has 2 draws. I would believe are unpurposeful, but is playing a 4-color elemental deck, and I will say elementals instead of Yorion because we are seeing Risen Reefs in the deck that Robert is bringing, very similar to the type of elemental deck that Robert was playing for 2 NRG champion crownings on last year that we got to see as well.
Yeah. Robert Hayes won back-to-back Nerd Rage 5Ks with his elementals deck that other people couldn't really win matches with. This was a 60-card deck, not a Yorion deck back then. But facing Don DeLozier here, and we are getting ready to go. So let's kick it off. We saw the end, or we saw as a backup a Don DeLozier match in round 7. So if you like what you see here, you can go back a couple rounds and watch that later on. But here facing Robert Hayes, Energy Series 2-time winner for a berth in the top 8. Both players, now I haven't looked at the tiebreakers or even the standings really. Both players with a record that conceivably could get in with a draw here, but they are playing it out. So that would suggest that in this case the standings are rather tight, and they don't think that's a likelihood.
I don't actually think that Robert could, because there's another 6-0-2 player.
Okay, that would make sense.
So yeah, I think that Don could certainly have drawn with anybody, but Robert cannot, from my understanding, at a quick glance here.
Okay.
I'm not going to go into it anymore. We could talk about standings and tiebreakers probably for like 20 minutes, and like maybe you'll have to go watch a podcast on that or something.
Yeah, but... okay, you're right. That's a good point. Let's not do that. Okay, so Prismatic Ending takes out Ragavan. That should be in the exile zone, but there is another Ragavan in hand for Dawn. And if we can radio over to the table and have the spotter point out that Ragavan should be exiled. And okay, so here comes the second one in, Risen Reef. Well, that can't be cast without more mana, but it's probably good for Dawn that Robert's not going to draw that.
Yeah, that would have been quite a nice turn 3, actually, likely being able to accelerate mana or at least generate some card advantage. And then anytime you get to see that Risen Reef get followed up by something like an Omnath, it just starts to feel like we were talking about fair and unfair Amulet Titan. That just starts to feel like really unfair elementals when you can follow those 2 cards up.
Yes, indeed. Okay. Well,
unfair fairness that's happening, you know?
Yeah, this is just another Coatl. It's just a free card that blocks and doesn't always trade, but in this Ragavan's case, it certainly does. Okay. Robert Hayes with the abundant growth in hand, but fetching here. It looks like he's got plans on what to do with his mana this turn. Now, Dawn was one of our Spell Snare players, I believe. I think I spied one in hand here. Yeah, she is playing 1. That's not going to be his best here. I mean, he can hit Wrenn and Six, but not a ton of other impactful cards. I guess hitting Coatl.
Yeah, and is also playing 2 copies of Spell Pierce main as well, actually.
Well, Spell Pierce would be good here, but I think actually Spell Snare is what she's got. So Teferi's in.
And upticking as well, knowing about that dashed Ragavan and not wanting that Teferi to die even for a single card.
So Iteration or Ragavan for Dawn this turn. Potentially both. But she'll have to make up her mind on what to start with. Now Ragavan hitting a creature for Robert's deck is much less good, as the Teferi can just bounce it back to Robert's hand. Other kind hitting a Planeswalker with Ragavan would be tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
All right, and she decides on the iteration.
I think I saw Counterspell and a Consider, and then there's what looks to be an Unholy Heat as the last one.
Okay, so this is going to mean this Ragavan's probably not attacking at all this turn, as the mana is going to be spent. It could be, if she's willing to use both treasures, she could still cast Dash Ragavan and then use Consider, but maybe we'll see. Let's see, in the graveyard right now we have Sorcery, Artifact, Land, so Consider would make it Delirium, and then Unholy Heat would kill Teferi. That's a pretty, pretty solid turn.
Yeah. Did we put the Unholy Heat in hand?
I thought so, but maybe not.
Unsure and can't see right now, so we'll see exactly what is going to end up being the call here, and it looks like we are going to at least take a peek and decide to draw that card with that Consider.
So that was the Steam
Use
Vent.
that for sure.
Yeah, so that was a Steam Vent that was wrong. So there's the Unholy Heat. Take that down, and did she play a land? I guess she did.
Yeah, the Steam Vents,
Okay.
I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, because Robert was on the play as well, I believe, and this
Okay.
is going to be Robert's turn 4.
Well, then you are correct. All right, that explains why she took the Steam Vents too then.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we're going to have another Teferi.
The Cavern is naming Elemental, for those curious.
Bouncing Abundant Growth. So this time...
Yeah, this time we're not worried about the Dash Ragavan, which I think is kind of interesting, and I haven't, Robert's deck, beautiful, all foil. For camera perspectives, very difficult to see. So I haven't honestly been looking and, trying to figure out what is in hand all that much. And in this situation, okay, that would start to make a whole lot more sense.
No, yeah, okay, yeah. It looked like Dawn was thinking about responding there, but can't do that. That Ragavan also needs to go into the exile zone. There, she's got it.
Do gain a little bit of life as a consolation prize, though.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, and there's a lightning bolt. So we could still finish off the Teferi, which might be something that's worthwhile just because of Teferi living has got to be so annoying for this Izzet deck.
Yeah. Do you iteration first and try and hit your land drop? No, we played a... Why does it matter with me? We played a land, didn't we? Okay, I take it back. We can't do that.
Yeah. I think we did play a land. Ooh,
yeah, we did.
That's not too bad though. Let's get a it's a dragon, yes?
Yeah.
What else would it be?
Yeah, Murktide Regent into play.
I don't know why I thought it would be not a dragon. What's it going to be, like a manta ray?
I mean, that wouldn't have been my backup guess, but sure. That would be reasonable. I mean, you had that flying jellyfish nailed earlier, so yeah, I expect you to know these things.
Usually I'm pretty good at it. Every once in a while, though.
You have demonstrated superiority as far as knowing creature types all the way back to the sloth incident.
Well, the sloth is actually a beast, also, to be fair, technically, as far as creature type is concerned. But I did also today ask for a different monkey that creates a treasure and then named Wily Goblin, which the name gives away is not a monkey, is a goblin. So,
well, we don't require 100% accuracy, but you're right. That was amusing also. Okay, second Solitude takes down Murktide Regent. And Dawn with a lot of cards in hand, but no board presence right now.
Yeah.
Bolt takes down Teferi, and it's a pass.
All right, looks like there's a dress down Murktide Regent. That spell Snare probably still stuck in hand because we haven't really had a situation to use it, and I'm unsure of that final card in hand. But the Solitude's going to have a little bit of a heyday and hopefully going to pad Robert's life total a little bit here.
Well, there's a Wrenn and Six perfect for Dawn. Gets to cash in that spell Snare. And yeah, another Abundant Growth is fine, but that's less exciting. And a lot of lands here.
Yeah, a ton.
For Robert with what, maybe 1 or 2 cards left in hand?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's drawn a lot of cards, but hasn't been able really well, I guess like we've answered everything that Dawn has put onto the
Yes.
field, so that's why we're not really seeing a whole lot. But
Right, and Yorion getting picked up here, and that's gonna. I think there's
that'll
two up
be
on
a
the.
big, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good Yorion if that makes it in. So Dawn's gonna need to get something going here. She does have another iteration in hand, but counter magic is well. I guess dress down also is a way of dealing with Yorion.
Mhm. There's a spell snare in hand, or a spell pierce. There's now just spell pierce, no spell snare in hand. So certainly some amount of things that we can have in our back pocket to go into
Mhm.
this next turn.
Well, dress down is an excellent answer to Yorion, at least temporarily. However, Robert, with nothing to kill with Solitude, may actually just hold off on the Yorion for now.
Seems kind of surprising, but certainly could be the call. Like the solitude is holding down the fort, and as long as the solitude isn't being answered, like all of the draws that are in Robert's deck are like pretty much either going to draw more cards or are pretty potent on their own. So there's
Mhm.
not a ton wrong with just saying, I have something on the board. Let's just start to take it one step at a time.
Right. So to immediately make a liar out of you, he drew Emrakul for the turn, which is actually not castable. But here is the Yorion. Dress down will gobble that up. The problem is that Dawn doesn't actually have, the board handled creature wise, even though there's no advantage to be gained here.
Mhm.
And let's see how 4, 5, 6 land in play. So Emrakul's a ways off, I think.
I'm always surprised at how quickly people can
I
cast
know,
Emrakul, but
right? Yeah, it comes out so much faster than you would think. Right now, we definitely have Planeswalker, creature, land, uh, sorcery.
yeah, we have sorcery and instant, maybe. I think that's it. We don't have artifact, or enchantment. I think all the abundant growths have stayed on the field, and Ledger Shredder and Murktide Regent are going to try and stop the onslaught that Robert is starting to amass here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Ragavan gets pitched to connive. So, okay, now Dawn has a reasonable board presence. Robert no longer will be able to attack. So if she's able to get a turn to untap here before getting shredded by Emrakul or any sort of other nonsense here, she may be good. Risen Reef the draw. That's a fine place to start for Robert.
Ooh, is there prismatic ending in hand?
Yep. That's actually overtapped, but that's okay. You're allowed to pay more mana than you need.
I think the reason that that could be is because we saw a spell snare.
Oh, you are right. That makes
Yeah,
sense.
now being a little bit afraid of paying 2 mana for a prismatic ending.
No, you're right. That's a good play by Robert.
And yeah, the spell pierce could be impactful in the earlier rounds, but likely is not going to impact so much later here. So just going ahead and deploying it and not having to worry about some bigger mana costs on Dawn's turn and actually attacks, which interesting because it's not. Oh, okay. I was going to say it's not going to be that big of a life swing when the Solitude is in play, but has Lightning Bolt to make sure that that is not going to be the case.
Yep. Good timing on the lightning bolt also. In case there was something
Mhm.
like an ephemerate, at least it would be devastating, but at least the Solitude wouldn't get to attack.
Yeah. Oh.
Well, this is also a problem.
Yeah, I hadn't really thought about like how incidentally kind of nice in this matchup that Cavern of Souls probably is.
Mhm.
Like against any deck that's just playing like 4 counterspell, always making sure that your Omnath gets to resolve is got to be kind of nice.
All right, here's a Rainface Coatl hoping for a land, which is not found.
Oh darn, your Omnath only drew you a card.
Well, but you expect it to gain 4 life, make 4 mana, and make you a sandwich, and it did only none of those extra things. This is a very crappy Omnath.
Hopefully next turn, Omnath. All right, what
Robert
is this
Hayes'
Murktide Regent gonna do now too?
Yeah, Robert Hayes' board is now getting pretty wide. There's a lot going on over there. Dash Ragavan in hand for Dawn. Yeah, this is it's not looking too promising.
This is kind of a rough place because at the point in the game that we're at, I feel like everything that Robert has is so much bigger than the creatures that are in Dawn's deck, save for these Murktide Regents. So I feel like a lot is riding on the back of these blue dragons here.
Yeah. So we've got 13 damage on the board right now. So a land draw from Robert will make him safe for the turn. Eltarmy's Call was the draw. It's a Traverse, I'm sorry. And this, well,
what are we looking for with Traverse? Making sure that we have Delirium. Oh, does have an artifact in there, actually. So we are a little bit closer to Emrakul as well.
Oh, okay. Well, that's an important note, although I don't think we're going to get that far. I think Solitude on Murktide here would probably... Well, it's a land. Oh,
Wait,
yeah.
yeah,
He gets a
because then
land.
if we...
Yes. This makes sense.
We're all saying, all right, we'll say it for the chat too, even though I'm sure chat's figured it out already. You chat, you're so smart. You always figure everything out so much faster than us.
See, but you say it like that, and that doesn't sound like you're being nice. You're not being complimentary.
Jeez,
is that how I sound when I say when I compliment people?
No.
Man.
That's how I imagine chat sounds when they correct us.
I see. All right. So yeah. Traverse for a fetch land allows gaining life. It allows mana boost, and that allows Emrakul. And Don DeLozier has seen enough for this game.
Yeah, it's the Murktide's quite big. Biggest creatures in Dawn's deck. Unfortunately, not as big as the Eldrazi herself that is Emrakul.
Yeah, I don't know. Don DeLozier. Robert Hayes has 2 draws already. Casting Emrakul might take 5 minutes. Maybe you want to make him play that out.
Honestly, kind of fair, actually.
Yeah. But no, that wouldn't have been probably as complicated. It's like suicide attack your creatures, demolish you. It might be about all it took. All right, so if we have Decklist available, we can go ahead and take a peek. We see Don DeLozier's Izzet Murktide, which we saw earlier today. Their 1 spell Snare was, a notable card in the deck alongside 2 spell pierce. So a variety of counters. Only 1 Archmage's Charm, which is maybe where some of the space came from.
Yeah, kind of an interesting difference here. And looking at the sideboards, I mean, I imagine we're going to see those mystical disputes. I do wish we maybe had a little more graveyard hate than we do with this deck. Previously, when we'd watched Dawn play against a 4-color deck, the subtleties also came in. So that could potentially be something that happens in the same way again, along with those unlicensed purses. I don't know why I'm unsure about the plural of hearse, but
yeah, I'm not sure why you're unsure either. Yeah, it should be hearses.
Yeah, we figured it out. It felt wrong when when you think about a word and you're like, or like you spell something, or you're like writing something a bunch of times, and then all of a sudden you're like, did I spell this right? And it just like starts to look wrong to you. For some reason, that was hearse to me. I don't know why I'm like.
Well, it sounds weird. It's a
common word.
It's an oddly pronounced word.
It is.
So yeah, I get it. Okay, let's go look at Robert Hayes' Elementals deck. This is not the same Elementals deck that he played back a year ago. This is more of a more similar to the 4-color decks. It just also has a good package of Elementals. He's still got a couple copies of Fury in here, which some people have moved off of. He's got his Ephemerate.
Also, playing those and the Risen Reefs. But I did notice that there was a lot of turns to play Risen Reef, and there was a Risen Reef in Robert Hayes' hand for a long time, and we just didn't play it. So potentially something that's going to end up coming out to look at what is in the sideboard. Those Veil of Summers, probably something that could come in. Flusterstorm, I think, is a little bit better for Robert than it is for Dawn.
Mhm.
Um, and the Endurances can kind of pack a little bit of a punch if we want to add those in as well.
Yeah, they could. There's definitely, depending on how he wants to play it. I mean, Supreme Verdict is possible. It's probably never going to kill more than 1 or 2 creatures, but that might be worthwhile anyway. But I guess the deck isn't really a go wide deck, the Murktide deck. I
Mhm.
mean, so maybe you don't even sweat that and assume you can just handle everything with your single target removal. We'll see how the rest of the match plays out. Don DeLozier down a game. Robert Hayes looking at potential top 8. Another top 8 with elementals in modern will not be a new experience for him if he's able to complete this. He hasn't lost a match yet today, even though he hasn't finished 2 of them.
That's kind of how it goes, and like it's weird because in some tournaments, if that happens early enough in the day, and depending on the numbers, you lose or you draw early in the day, and all of a sudden, like you're technically with a loss,
Mhm.
but not going to be the case here. So still with hopes alive, and certainly live should we be able to get this game and a nice start here by having this first match taken down.
I think the most notable thing for game 1 for me was that after seeing a spell snare, Robert Hayes overpaying on Prismatic Ending to avoid a repeat of that scenario. That was well done, and that's an adjustment that not everyone would realize to make in the middle of a game.
All right. Game number 2, and I imagine Dawn likely gonna be a lot happier on the play, make some of those counter spells like those spell pierces and that spell snare a lot better as well,
Mhm.
and is deciding to keep this hand. Doesn't have a Ragavan to start, which I feel like you typically want a Ragavan to start against this deck just because you really wanna get the most out of those cheap creatures before they start to get bricked.
Mhm. No, that's totally reasonable, and we saw the amulet mirror, and those players had amulets like game 1 every single or turn 1 every single time, but yeah, no
Mhm.
Ragavan here for Dawn, no action early, but a 7-card keep, so presumably the hand is fairly solid. Maybe we'll see there's a Consider in hand, so there is a use for the mana, and then maybe we'll see a Shredder or something on turn 2.
Nice start though for Robert here, fetching for just a basic, but that
Mhm.
basic's gonna be able to do a whole lot because of that abundant growth and draw some cards. I liked when they started putting abundant growth in the deck. I think a lot of people were like a little like, oh, you can't be playing something more powerful, and it's like it kind of is powerful.
Mhm. I feel like when Robert was playing his 60-card version, some of the time he had Utopia Sprawl in that deck,
Yeah.
but has moved off of that here. I guess, I mean, the Yorion impacts how you build the deck in a lot of ways, that being one of them.
Yeah, I thought the most interesting part of Robert Hayes's deck was this Oath of Nissa as well that's in it, and there's 2 copies of the Oath of Nissa and a nice little extra thing to
Mhm.
blink with the Yorion as, normal 4-color things happen. Gonna be able to pitch cast that Solitude to take care of Ledger Shredder.
Yeah, that is a cost, though. Pitching what Omnath got pitched there,
Yeah.
so
Did we miss a land drop? Oh, no, we're
no.
fetching right now. Okay. I was like, "What the?" That was an aggressive keep.
Yeah, I mean, it was a 6, here's a Coatl, okay. And no use of the mana, for Dawn on turn 3.
Not yet. We could still. There's an Archmage's Charm, the one of.
That's true. Yeah, it's gonna have to be a draw here as Cavern comes down, and as it always does in Robert's decks, name's Elemental, so Risen Reef is uncounterable here.
Mhm. Ooh, and it looks like we're actually gonna Archmage's Charm to draw
Mhm.
cards. Okay. I like it. Life total not looking too bad. I imagine that it feels a little scary that we're not on the board somehow for this Izzet deck.
Yes, I agree. Although being on the board right now is not going to lead to much since the Coil's just sitting there. I guess it doesn't have Death Touch yet.
Yeah, we're one off still. Yeah, there's like engineered explosives in the sideboard, but I can't imagine that those came in. I think the costs are far too varying from Robert's deck.
There's your Oath of Nissa for the first time. We're seeing it today.
I feel like we've been seeing it a lot in Pioneer lately, not so much in Modern
Right.
and otherwise, but kind of cool to see it used here, and could be cool to see it get blinked off of the Yorion because that is quite a nice ability. Has that extra little help of making sure that it's easier to cast things like the Wrenn and Six and the Teferi as well.
Yeah, I liked the Oath cycle. I thought the gold one was really cool too. The Oath of was it Oath of Teferi? I think the 5-mana one.
Oh, they have the Oath of Teferi and the Oath of Ajani, and they're both gold.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about that one. All right, so here is a counterspell on. Yeah, there's Oath of Teferi. Yeah, I mean, getting double activations of planeswalkers, that's ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah, isn't that what everyone wants to do?
5 mana is a lot, though.
It is a lot.
So I don't know that one ever saw much play, but that was cool. All right, so counterspell on Coatl.
Took Yorion to hand, and certainly a lot of nice things to bounce with Yorion in play currently, so that are also hard for Dawn to interact with.
Right. Yeah. So at the moment, okay, there's an Unholy Heat takes down Coatl, but at the moment, Yorion draws 2 cards and then looks at 3 cards for a creature or a planeswalker or a land, I think.
I think only draws 1 card because there's only the 1 Abundant Growth right now.
Oh, there's only 1? Okay, you're right. I thought there was 2.
I did a double take too. Foils, very nice. Once again, a little difficult to see on coverage.
Yeah, I don't think Robert Hayes cares. He goes home and looks at his 2
You know,
trophies and he's like, "Yeah, it was worth it."
It was worth it, and my foils match my shiny trophies. I get it. Alright, is this a dash Ragavan in? Already flipped over a land, and I need to fetch this Misty as well.
Okay, Murktide. That'll use up some of that graveyard. Redistribute it into the exiled zone. And if Dawn is fortunate, the Murktide will not follow that food into the exile zone. But we know how Robert Hayes' deck works. We know how Solitude works. And even if he doesn't have one in hand, he might be able to traverse 4 a Solitude and just make this start all over again. And we know Dawn cannot counter a Solitude either.
We are getting a little peek. I believe that at the bottom of Robert Hayes' deck is the Chalice of the Void, which apparently did actually come in this matchup.
Okay, that's
interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it does get a decent amount of things. It's not a
Seems a little worse
blow.
on the draw, though.
I agree. It also gets in the way of a lot of his cantripping effects, which mostly cost 1 mana. Is another cavern, I think.
Now you won't be able to counter 2 elementals. Actually, that one could name Snake.
Sure, that's true. I mean, it's not like the first one.
Excuse me. Bird. Bird was the name. Okay, because Yorion is a bird serpent. Sorry, Sky Snake. Ice-Fang Coatl is a snake. Okay, so Snake wasn't crazy.
No, I didn't think you were crazy. No one said that. I didn't say that either. You're all good, Becky.
Thank you.
All right. But Oath comes back in. Oath of Nissa comes back in. He's look at 3, finds a Coatl. Boy.
Value.
Yeah. And plus a 4/6 flyer or 4/5. So Murktide's still the biggest thing on the board right now. It just
Murktide's got to get through.
can't attack.
It can get through this turn, yeah.
Is there
'Cause we
2
don't
basics
have
on the board or 3? I think I only see 2.
no.
Okay.
Yeah, there's only 2.
So it can attack right now.
Yeah,
Can't
we
get
can't even
stuff.
play the Coatl this turn. 'Cause the
Oh,
thing
you're
under the
right.
cavern is an abundant growth, yeah, so.
You're right, there's only 1 mana available. Okay.
We're pretty safe this turn. We don't care about taking a hit back, and then I think the turns after are where things start to get dicey and start to kind of fall out of Dawn's control, unfortunately. There's an Otawara in hand? Ooh.
Well, Yorion is not a good bounce candidate generally,
No.
so
Mm-mm.
I think just attacking in here and hoping you get through is fine, or is a Ragavan also?
Yeah. So is there a world where you no, I don't think you really wanna Otawara. Well, okay, so you Otawara Yorion, and to replay Yorion, it has to be another 5 mana you're left with, potentially 2 mana next turn.
Yeah.
But you
Okay.
got in for 9 this turn, and Robert would be at 4.
That is
Hmm.
that is conceivable. However, I think what I would be afraid of is that Robert doesn't bother playing the Yorion next turn. He plays something
Yeah.
else.
Something scarier.
Yeah. And
Omnath
it
would be pretty spooky. I was about to ask if you think these are foil cold snap baubles, but I think I can tell that they're not.
I wouldn't have even remembered that Bauble was from Cold Snap, but that does make sense.
I just remember at some point they were worth like hundreds of dollars for this uncommon.
Did Robert just prismatic a treasure? Wait, what just happened?
Yeah, I
Okay, that
guess
is what
so.
happened. Is he trying to get a sorcery in the graveyard? That would
Could be it. There is an
yeah.
Emrakul in hand, so I
Okay.
believe that was an Emrakul. Shiny cards once again.
Well, that would make sense then, because little else would. All right, here is Ragavan. Robert knew there was one on top of the deck. There's also one in hand, and this is attack for 10.
Attack for 10, and actually one more land will be enough to play the Emrakul if that's what's in hand, but maybe it's not. Oh no, it definitely is. Okay. So yeah, has enough mana to play Emrakul next turn. And it's what ended the game last time.
Yeah. All right, so here's endurance as well. This uncounterable. All right, so now this Otawara. What? There's still only 2 basics in play.
Yeah, and I think that's what Dawn was just counting a minute
Right.
ago as well.
So if I guess. Yeah, all right. I was gonna say Don's incentivized to let him target first. He does. Shuffles the land back in. Robert goes to block. Don's like, hold up, hold up. I might want to channel this Otawara at discount. Still kind of I think if I'm Robert, I think I let the Ragavan hit me. I don't want to get hit by 8 from Murktide, even though I'm not that concerned. Probably.
Well, I don't think he was
Okay.
planning to block the Murktide before.
All right.
And
So
like if
this
you're planning to cast Emrakul the next turn, you're
right.
gonna have the Murktide just like fly into
Yeah.
Emrakul anyway.
Yeah. Yeah. I just don't really want to put myself at the point where like 2 bolts could kill me.
Oh, that's very fair. She should be at that point, and I guess is just saying, I won game 1, and if it happens, it happens.
Okay. So Robert doesn't have Emrakul mana. It does not
Oh.
appear, as I imagine it would have come down.
Oh, I could have sworn that I maybe I counted wrong. The abundant growths kind of make things a little bit difficult, but I
Right.
thought
Yeah,
for
sure.
sure.
Yeah, no, he doesn't have it. All
And
right, so
Robert
there's
also is not playing bolts, so it's not like the Ragavan hitting would have been able to flip up a bolt from
sure.
his deck that he could get hit by,
Yep.
at least.
Okay. Robert at 4. Don, a removal spell. I don't know what spell that would be for the endurance. Like another Otawara would do it. Endurance chump blocks. Don has another Ragavan and my card I can't make out. Well, this is painful.
Mhm.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, I was thinking about using the Otawara to bring it back to hand, but yeah, decides to just let it go.
Now Robert did draw a Risen Reef last turn, so there
Mhm.
are, he's checking for Emrakul. If he doesn't have it, he's still got this Risen Reef for 2 triggers and 2 more cards. So a pretty good backup plan.
Yeah. Nice consolation prize if we're not getting to cast an Eldrazi. Looks like that will be the call instead.
Doesn't use the Cavern. Oh, Subtlety is the other card in Don's hand.
Ooh. I thought the subtlety was an Otawara.
If it was, Don would have won the game last turn.
Mhm.
Here is
Ephemerate.
oh, okay. And then a Teferi. So this may find the Subtlety. That is okay. So a bolt is still good, I think.
I mean, Robert's at 4,
Right?
so we have to
His
do one
only
more as
card is
well.
Emrakul. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think a bolt is good here.
Oh, because of the subtlety having flying? Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. One of the Risen Reefs has to go.
And not only is a bolt good here, it's also good the turn after the Emrakul. So this still isn't completely over with.
Mhm.
In fact, it's not over with at all. Don has legitimate draws here.
Very true.
Well,
Ooh.
yeah.
Ooh.
Okay, Solitude's
One of those being, yeah,
yeah,
Solitude makes that a lot harder.
yes, it does.
And the single card in hand for Dawn is a Misty Rainforest. Making sure that we do, in fact, have all of the different card types. Honestly, at this point, it's getting pretty close to just have enough land.
Yeah. Yeah, well, those 2 Risen Reefs really added a lot to the mana pile for Robert Hayes here. Traverse. All right. And Don has seen enough. Traverse there for well,
Dawn might just be thinking that we're traversing for Emrakul, even though the Emrakul is already in hand.
maybe. Yeah, so traverse for Omnath to gain life, I guess would have been possible.
Oh, very good. Yeah.
But there has to be a land in hand, and I'm not sure that there was. Land in play wouldn't have done anything, as Robert can't fetch at 1 life.
No, but there was a Risen Reef in play, and Omnath would look at the top
Would
card
trigger.
with Risen
Yeah,
Reef.
that's true. That's true. But that's not a
It's
that's not
not guaranteed, but
right. If that's what it was, then you would still keep playing for another at
Mhm.
least to flip and see what happened. There was a Solitude in hand already. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Dawn was not likely to win that game. It's like I'm just trying to think whether it made sense for her to concede at that point or not, but she was definitely
Yeah.
not going to win because the Emrakul was just going to crush, and that was the end of it. All right, so Robert Hayes advances at 7-0-2, not quite the way you normally draw it up, but gets it done. Don DeLozier finishes at 7-2, a good run, perhaps probably top 16, but not quite for top 8. All right, we got the backup match. Let's roll it. Find another entrant into our top 8 of this NRG 10K.
All right,
Okay.
and I believe there should be one more point somewhere for Max.
Yes, there should. You're correct. All right. Well, this is.
We'll figure. I'll figure it out. Hold up.
All right. Anyway, okay.
Maybe.
Whoa, that's. Well, we didn't get that fixed. We got some other things fixed, but not that. Anyway, Mack Endress versus Max Kominowski. Izzet Murktide 4-color blink? So that's right. We said that before. Same matchup we just watched. See if the outcome is any different.
Yeah, Ragavan gonna be the start, and I do think that like you need a little bit of early action for this Izzet Murktide deck because that game could have been so different for Dawn if there was just like a little bit more of an aggressive start. Like we saw her get Robert down to 1,
Yeah.
and like for multiple turns, like any kind of damage dealing ability was going to be like a win for her. And
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, there was that turn when the endurance was back.
Mhm.
A way to deal with the endurance would have won, although I'm not sure what there was. With no graveyard,
Yeah.
it makes Unholy Heat ineffective. But then,
Yeah.
a couple turns later, a lightning bolt would have ended it.
Yeah, it was close game, and not to say that like the keep was a bad keep from Dawn at all. Like it's just hard to look back and be like, oh, these little things could have been different. But you do that in every game and every matchup.
All right. So Ragavan gets nailed by Prismatic Ending. Max has played a couple cantrips. Mack has played a couple cantrips. And you can't dawdle against this 4-color deck. I mean, even though these Murktide decks, I mean, they have game going long, going turn 6, going turn 10, like maybe at turn 10. But the late game belongs to the 4-color decks. The late game belongs to the Emrakul decks. So you don't want to get there.
Really is true. And ooh, all
Another
right.
spell snare. There's been more spell snares today on camera than I feel like there was in the last 5 months.
I would say the last year even.
I thought about saying that, and I changed my mind. But yeah, I mean, you're right. I
I'll
mean,
say it for you. I
okay,
think year. Especially main board? Main
yeah,
board?
in modern, yeah, this is I mean, we're seeing a change of the times a little bit.
Yeah, okay. I should add within modern because I think in legacy it could also be a little bit of a different number. Ooh, yeah. Go ahead, move that Yorion to hand, Abundant Growth, and Ice-Fang Coatl. Well, no longer an Ice-Fang Coatl, so making that Yorion a little bit worse. I feel like when the players are like shuffling their hands faster and doing everything faster, then I have to talk faster.
I mean, that's not sure. I mean, that's reasonable. We could try to talk faster, but I'm probably gonna leave you alone. You can gibber along as fast as you want. I'll probably maintain my normal pace. As Dress Down comes in here in response to Murktide Regent.
Oof.
Bit of a drag. It's still a 3/3
Yeah.
flyer.
Yeah, it's still technically a 2-mana 3/3. Not
Yeah,
really, but kind of.
you would play that. I
A
mean,
little bit
Sarah
of
Avenger.
copium right there.
Sarah Avenger couldn't even get played until turn 4, and it got played as a 2-mana 3/3 flyer.
That's true. Wow, what a throwback for that
I even
card.
had Vigilance, I think. So this is actually worse, I guess. But at least it's getting through. Well, scratch
Maybe
that.
not. No, it is gonna get through. Counterspell. Save the Murktide. And falling to 11. So Max doing a pretty good job of keeping on the pain here too. But we do know that Yorion is in hand and could come down and brick wall this Murktide at any moment.
Yeah, really, that's tough. I mean, do you counter the Solitude? Or do you counter the Yorion? I mean, it has to be the Solitude, but it's unpleasant either way, unless there's more counters. We know there's a Spell Pierce in Max's hand. That's not going to help too much here. All the spells in these 4-color decks are cheap, and all the creatures are expensive. That feels like it's backwards of what traditionally the way things should work.
a little bit, but sometimes that's how these formats end up. Traverse the Evenwald. We got a lot of things in our I feel like half of the traverses have just been to look for Emrakul. It's just been like, all right, let's make sure that we have all of these card types in our graveyard. We got lots of lands on the field. What are you going to be looking for? I want to know. Is it going to be the Emrakul? Is it going to be something else? Let's find out.
It is
going to be the Emrakul.
Max, oof, that's an expensive one. You'll never cast that anytime soon. Oh wait, well, it's just cost 7. Yeah, same as Murktide.
It's kind of the same as Murktide, and unfortunately, not going to be able to keep the Murktide around second time around. Counterspell saved it the first time. Not going to be able to save it again.
Ick. So your opponent is Emrakul in hand, and you're behind on the board.
Feel bad. I feel like that we're getting to kind of see this is almost exactly what happened to Dawn. Like playing through the game, like have some reactionary spells, and then eventually it all just kind of comes crumbling down the moment that an Emrakul is something that we can think about.
Yeah. So
which I guess says a lot about the 4-color decks, saying that we need a game ender. We are playing dirtily games far too often. How do we end the game? We take our opponent's turn.
Yeah,
genius.
Boy. And I mean, this isn't, well, it's been a slam dunk every time we've seen it today. Here it gets countered. So let's see how much damage there is to be done to Max's hand here.
All right, so we at least don't have a 13/13 Flample protection from instance.
So with Surveil here, maybe Max can set up spots where he doesn't get completely destroyed. Okay, bolts. Look at the top card. Leave it there. Okay.
All right, so maybe we're not going to be doing that much damage to Max's turn anyway. So Max just trying to figure out, is there anything else I can do before I give my turn over? I mean,
you know what's very cool also is a Dragon Rage Channeler has to attack, right?
Yeah.
So Mack controlling Max's turn has to attack himself. Does not have a choice.
That's true. Oh.
Well, okay, now he doesn't, but that's a problem. If Mack can delve away Delirium, then he can save himself 3 damage, but that means
but then there's a Murktide in play.
Yeah. Yeah. This may be, so the choices do nothing. What? Oh, that's am I wrong? Is
there no Delirium?
Well, maybe there isn't. Oh,
instant. Yeah, it looks like it's just instant land.
Okay, that's the problem. Okay, so I was thinking that, yeah, you're right. There's no Delirium, but Dash Ragavan.
I didn't realize it either. I see that many cards in a graveyard with these decks, and honestly, most of the time I just assume that there's Delirium, which is wrong on my part.
Okay, so wow, this was
ideal for Max, actually. All things considered.
This Emrakul was not like the others.
No.
Wow.
You know what? We want this Murktide to be as big as possible. So we'll go ahead, keep that island in the graveyard. All right, Mack, you got 1 card in hand. It's a Yorion, and you drew a land. That's a little rough. What can we do? It looks like we're going to be going to 1 and getting finished off by Wrenn and Six.
Yeah, I think that was a dress down for the draw.
Oh.
There's Dash Ragavan.
Oh.
Here's.
Wait, yeah.
Right, so here's what's gonna so it's gonna be
down before.
And this is a complicated. I've seen this asked other places where with Dash Ragavan versus dress down, what happens?
Ragavan doesn't have to be returned to hand, correct?
Okay, let's.
Oh, it does? Okay.
but I'm not sure that it loses haste.
Okay.
All right.
Our man behind the curtain has informed us that the dash will still have to be returned to hand, but does not have haste or any of the other abilities.
All right. So 1 damage comes through, plus the 1 from the fetch the spell pierce caused. And then Wrenn and Six ticks down, and Max Kominowski takes down the game. So, yeah, just sidesteps that Emrakul with the Surveil and emptying the hand with the Lightning Bolt, leaving behind a Spell Pierce that was uncastable, and gets the job done. That was
And it was
nice work.
actually, I mean, it probably would have actually gone kind of bad had there been delirium and we had to take that extra damage on
Yeah.
Mack's side from the. So kind of crazy that it ended up being that way and just was like, okay, I'm getting to avoid damage and not casting the Murktide, and then still ends up not being in an advantageous situation. So, I mean, we got to see a lot of Emrakuls do a whole lot of potent things, and there we just got to see it not do so much. Which every once in a while, I feel like you do get to see somebody just be like, all right, well, I'm like nearly hellbent, and you just can't do much with my turn. And if like the boards are at parity, if you don't get to have that 13-13 stake into play,
Mhm.
it's not really doing that much at the end of the day.
Right. Right. All right. So if we have the sideboards ready, we don't have the sideboards ready. All right, let's just go to game 2. We know what we're talking about here, and we know what we're seeing. We got Max Kominowski versus Mack Endress playing for top 8. Let's just get game 2 rolling.
Yeah, we've seen these Izzet Murktide decks versus these 4-color elemental decks pretty much all day. Once again, the 2 most represented decks at this tournament, the 2 biggest decks in this format. I think I will pretty confidently say that. And a little bit of mulliganing for Mack to start it off.
So I'm gonna look at Max Kominowski. Yeah, so Max is actually 6-0. We might have established this earlier, but I don't remember actually saying it. So Max is actually 6-0-2, not 5-0-2 or um 5-1-1 or any other sort of incorrect record. So I wonder if there was an intentional or unintentional draw earlier between Max and Robert Hayes.
Oh, that could have been it. Especially if you're, yeah, playing one of these.
Mhm.
We've seen how long these games can go.
Okay, so Max is up a game. If we can add that on during the time shifted match, let's do that. If we can't, don't worry about it. But this is round 9 of the Swiss here at Norwich Gaming. 272 players. We're narrowing it down to 8. Those 8 will play after this round is complete, and then the top 4 will contest tomorrow morning. And
Ooh.
wow, yeah. So, Veil of Summer, we saw it be rather ineffectual a couple times today. This is anything but
That's how
that. This
you
is
want it to be used.
yeah, this is a blowout as Veil of Summer was intended to be used. Wrenn and Six lands. Mack draws a card, and yeah, and that's just. I mean, you just have to keep playing, but it's just like, oh, sometimes when that happens, I just want to concede right away.
Honestly, kind of fair. Definitely is a very potent card, and this time no Veil of Summer to save the Wrenn and Six. Brazen Bar, we're gonna put it back to hand, and maybe we'll have a counterspell for the second time around.
Well, hopefully it goes better than the first time.
Already a lot of land and card advantage garnered, though. Being able to get some extra fetches, pull some more lands out of the deck. And a Ice-Fang Coatl in play. Ooh.
Okay, this kind of spell goes better than the last one, and then Wrenn and Six comes in anyway, and we continue to see this interaction where
Teferi
the
eats a counterspell
right,
and
yeah,
resolves something else.
yeah, the blue-red player sitting with counterspell just camped out, and the 4-color player is like, okay, that's cool and everything, but you got to counter this Teferi. You're not going to get whatever I want to protect.
Uh, I mean,
What
at
we
least
need
you're
is a
being able to counter the Teferi. Better than the Teferi resolving and you
yeah.
sitting with counters in hand. So
What you need is a
at least you're
counterspell.
getting.
We need a counterspell silence, like 2 blue and a white counter target spell. The opponent can't play anything else this turn. That's probably too good, but that would solve this issue.
That's gonna name like 3 cards that do something kind of maybe similar.
Oh, yeah, you're right. What, like time stop? I mean, you're right. I guess 2 blue and a white's too little because time stop costs 6 and does exactly what I just said. So maybe I should have thought that through first. Another saying that card actually exists anyway.
All right, Yorion to hand. Not a whole lot going on, and we're not swinging with this Ice-Fang Coatl either, but it's just holding down the fort a little bit. I think we're a little bit afraid of the Brazen Borrower coming
Oh,
into
Dash.
play and starting to swing. Or
Yeah,
yeah.
Dash Ragavan is a consistent thing also. All right, so there's a Murktide for Max Kominowski, full size. Oh, wow. It's even the same mana cost. It's not actually. I mean, I've definitely seen that card name before. I just didn't remember what it did. So good job reminding me, and bad job
I
of
told
me.
you, chat's on it.
No, you're right.
They always know everything.
Well, I don't know about that much, but they do know a lot, and we appreciate you guys being here and watching. All right, Unholy Heat takes out Coatl as we seemingly speed towards the end of this match.
Yeah, sometimes players are zooming, and on these time shifted matches that are a little bit sped up, it really starts to feel like we're just. Ooh, Jace.
Ooh,
Oh, can we even cast Jace this turn? I don't think we can cast Jace this
well,
turn.
we have a land. There you go.
Oh.
Oh, Jace so good. Unholy Heat, kind of a disaster for Jace's survivability long term, but looks like it's going to land. It's going to brainstorm. No dice required, I guess. I'm sure they'll get that.
We
Fixed
all know that
at
Jace
some
just
point.
brainstorms every single round and just stays
Oh,
at the same
maybe,
mana or same loyalty.
maybe it's just the format difference. Like Legacy is a more powerful format, so in that case, using the other abilities was the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
Here, I don't know. If Jace is just good, all good modes. You know, something that continually surprised me. This probably only happened to me like 3 or 4 times, maybe. Where you play Jace, start using his abilities. The other person doesn't even blink. Then you ultimate. They're like, "Oh, what does the ultimate do?" I was like, "What? How do you not know this?" I mean, if you
I
had to,
mean, I didn't really know it for the longest time. Jace was like always, so I like wasn't playing Legacy for a really long time. Ooh, are we casting? Yeah, Supreme Verdict just to take care of Murktide and
oh, prismatic
Prismatic Ending
ending.
to take care of Jace. Exile Zone, please, thank you. Nah, so I like wasn't playing against Jace hardly ever, and it was banned in Modern, and then it got unbanned, and I think I played like 2 games. And finally, like one time was like playing against an opponent and they were like kind of close to ultimating it. I was like, I don't think I've ever actually read what that ultimate does. And read it and was like, seems pretty good. I'll exile it with Karn.
That was a good climax to your story there. Came out of
Thank you.
nowhere. Okay, so the board has been cleared. Traverse on the stack. Max with a lot of cards in hand. Spell Pierce just to make it cost a little more. Okay.
At this point, what is Spell Pierce really gonna do? I feel like we've seen Spell Pierce be very mopey today. It's been just a pay 2 extra for that, please. We haven't gotten to really see it early, and Subtlety to try and stop Omnath.
I mean, stop Omnath and start attacking. I mean, Max only at 5.
Oh, very true. Yeah.
And Supreme Verdict in hand. Not being cast
And a
this turn.
Veil of Summer as well, but we didn't leave up a green mana for it.
Ooh. And land drop was so that's Spell Pierce. I mean, if there is, I didn't see the veil, but if you're right about that, that's Spell Pierce really mattered.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and so that's it.
Wow.
Max
Okay.
Kominowski takes that one down.
And I love that the moment that I was like, Spell Pierce has been kind of medium today, I'll immediately, like almost 10 seconds later, is like, nope, it did kind of matter.
Yeah, I mean, it did. convert off 2 mana there, but that's that is something. Okay, so let's see. Let me mark that down. That Max won that. That is the end of the Swiss.